Okay, so we have two hoses. So always be two hoses. It may be split off the hose, like on that SUV. But you're gonna have an upper radiator hose and you're gonna have a lower radiator hose. Some cases, the upper radiator hose is going to the thermostat on some vehicles.
Okay.
Some vehicles, the lower radiator hose is going to the thermostat.
So basically, you find the hose, you find the thermostat.
You find the hose, you always find the thermostat.
Makes sense.
Okay.
But it's like, it could be the lower or the upper.
It could be the lower or the upper. For example, BMW and Mercedes, they run split. So a hose it can wire off to a different section.
You know, that's what I need to hear right there.
And also, Mercedes and BMWs might use an electric thermostat.
Oh, I had beaten my back.
Okay. They also use electric cooling pumps.
So you got electric thermostat all the time.
Well, it's gonna have a wire going through it.
Wire.
It's gonna be made into the hose, the housing. So you're gonna see a hose connect to a plastic housing and then come out. So it don't go off the thermostat.
So you'll find the hose, but you're gonna find the house, and then you just find the wire from the house.
So you want to learn about the cooling system? Follow the hose. That didn't sound right.
Follow the hose. I'm always got it. That sound like something.
That's how you learn these systems. You got to know, you follow it. So look right here. That's the thermostat house.
You talking about right here?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. You see it?
Down there is the thermostat house. Look how it's made. It's circular. So it allows for the coolant to build up inside the housing until it reaches a certain temperature.
Look at that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Four-cylinder engines, sometimes they attach a coolant housing at the rear, and the hose will be going to it. Every manufacturer is different. You also have a section for the bypass hoses, which here they're coming right off the head, and this is a hose here, which is going to the heater core. Right there, that's for the AC. That's the evaporator. Over here is the heater core. You will always have two hoses, one going in and then the one coming out. The heater core will be in the firewall. On the old school vehicle, they made it inside the engine compartment. But since they redesigned the engine, that was too much inside the engine compartment. It's in the way. So everything then went inside. The cap, it will tell you what pressure it's supposed to have. This is 108 kilopascal. You have to convert it to PSI. Pressure per square inch. So you know what pressure they put on the cap. Right, this is a metric kilopascal. That's the metric system. But since the tool is set up to read PSI, so you have to convert this PSI so you know what the PSI pressure of the cap, which would be somewhere around about 9 to 12. Yeah, but each one they put different pressure. That depends on how they measure the pressure of the system. You have the fan, and this unit has two fans. On some cars, one fan would be for the cooling system, the other fan would be for the AC. On some fans, they both work together for both. Any questions? So can anybody tell me all the components of the cooling system? The liquid part.
You got the reservoir, I know that. And you got the cap, the radiator cap. And then you got the upper hose and lower hose. The thermostat. And the fluid.
That's it.
I mean, there's probably more than that.
You're missing the main component.
Oh, radiator.
And then the other component. Where you getting your heat from? It is. No. What about the heater core?
Oh, the heater core.
Is it now not attached to the cooling system?
Yeah, the heater core attached to the cooler system.
All right.
The glove box in the back of the backpack.
So that
The
means
power
that
wall.
you got that that in there. Because if the heater core go bad, can it affect the cooling system? Let's say if it's leaking. If it's leaking, yeah, it could. Now, if the cooler, if the heater core is blocked, would it affect the cooling system?
Yeah.
How?
It's locked.
How is it going to affect the cooling system?
It's not working as it's not working as soon as it should. It's not gonna be pushing out the heat.
Well, the thing is, it will not affect the cooling system because the cooling system will still be working.
It'll affect the heating system.
But it affects the heating system because if it's blocked, it's not letting no heat get inside.
It's gonna be part of him.
Yeah. It will be.
Wintertime.
It will be.
What
So,
are you doing that for?
but that's how we troubleshoot. And okay, suppose there is no blockage in the cooling system or the heater core, but the customer complains that it's not putting out any heat. What's the first thing you're going to check? The hoses? Anybody else?
Thermostat.
Anybody else? If the customer
You gonna
complains,
check the fluid level
There
and make sure the
is
fluid
no
level is where it need to be or something?
what would the first thing you check? I'm not talking to you. If your customer complains that the vehicle is not putting out any heat, what would be your first
Heater core.
visual inspection you check?
The heater core.
How you gonna check the heater core?
You gonna check?
The heater core is inside behind the dash.
You gonna check for leaks, ain't you?
Kind of, sort of. You kind of close to what you'll be checking. You'll be checking the coolant. You're gonna check the the level of the coolant to make sure that the radiator is full.
You said that about like 5 times.
You were saying
Fluid.
Check
Check
fluid.
the fluid levels.
Right.
It's the same thing. Cooler.
I kind of heard you, but I didn't hear you.
I got you. I got you.
You wanted to hear.
You made me feel like I was wrong because I said it 32 times. Like, maybe not.
No, but you are correct.
Okay.
You check the coolant because if the coolant low, that means the system is not circulating enough. If it's low here in the radiator, then that means the system itself can be low. So it's not enough coolant circulating. It might be enough to keep it from overheating, but then that's eventually because if there's a leak, it's going to leak down enough where it will affect the cooling of the engine. But if you don't have no heat inside, that's the first thing you check to make sure that the coolant is full. If it is full, then that could be other issues, like the valve that opens the coolant to go to the heater core, or it could be stopped up. And if people put that, they got a leak and they put that powder stop leak in it, that is designed to block off any kind of small passage that could be leaking. The radiator is full of small passageways. Y'all are aware of that, right? Y'all seen the radiator?
Yeah.
I got one over there we can look at it if y'all want to study it. But the radiator is full of small passageways. And that stop leak can block off half the radiator. The only half the radiator will be working or allowing circulation. And one way to be to tell is using that thermometer and checking to see is the whole radiator having the same temperature or is one section is hot and the other section is cold. And what's cold should only be no more than 20 degrees. So if it's a lot colder than that, then that means the radiator is completely blocked in that section. And the only way to fix it is replace it. I had a car that overheats when I come to a stop. But the fan is working. And I changed the coolant pump and coolant and the thermostat. And I couldn't understand why it keep overheating when I come to a stop. When I'm driving, it's okay. But when I come to a stop, it immediately starts overheating. And doing some study, I realized maybe it's my radiator. Now, the top of the radiator, you take the cap off, you can see it's circulating. But what you can't see is how much of the radiator is circulating. What was my problem was, half the radiator was blocked off. The lower part was blocked. So there was no circulation in the bottom part, only the top half, which wasn't enough to keep the engine cold when it comes to a stop. The fan by itself wasn't enough. I changed the radiator, problem went away. So radiator, that's why you have to know these test equipment, they have to do the thorough check. But you can check all of that by just getting a temperature reading, depending on if the engine is hot. The whole radiator should be no different than a 20 from the upper radiator hose, which the tank is on the top, and on the lower, the tank is on the bottom. So the coolant runs vertical, up and down. The other type of radiator, the tanks are on the side. So the coolant runs horizontal. So on the cooling system, wet component controls temperature. Thermostat. Wet controls pressure.
Cap?
The radiator cap. Awesome. So what is the purpose of the cooling system? How does it do that? Okay, we're gonna fine tune that a little bit.
Circulating coolant throughout the different parts of the engine, like the radiator
The radiator, engine.
Maintaining pressure at certain temperatures.
Maintain that, but the purpose of the coolant is to absorb the heat from the engine when it's running, and then transfer it to the radiator so the coolant can cool off. That's the main purpose. Absorb the heat, then transfer it to the outside. If it doesn't do that, then it's going to
Go ahead and interrupt, man. You keep interrupting.
Yeah. Okay. You're trying out. Have a good day. Something like that. Y'all got that? Because when the engine is running, what's it doing? It's creating heat. Now, some of y'all might know, some of you don't know, but on an average, how much a cylinder produces heat? How much heat does a cylinder produce? Y'all probably don't even know. You don't know. How about 2400 Fahrenheit per cylinder? Per cylinder. So a 4-cylinder, that's 4 cylinders. 6-cylinder, that's 6 cylinders. An 8-cylinder, that's 8 cylinders producing 2400 degrees Fahrenheit per. That's a lot. So the temperature definitely got to be controlled. And that's what the coolant does. That's amazing how they designed it. Now the oil also contributes to help control temperature because the oil also absorbs heat. But the oil main purpose is to lubricate. Because in the engine, there are a lot of moving parts that are not touching each other because of the oil. The oil works like a liquid bearing. And the oil absorbs heat and transfers to the pan. When oil goes to the oil pan, how do it get cooled?
I mean, through the fans and through the liquid and the air going through
The oil pan is located where?
on the very
On the
bottom.
bottom. So when the air from underneath the car is cooling out the oil pan. I never thought about that, did you? So that's why when the oil drains back, it absorbs the heat from the engine. When it drains back down to the oil pan, the ram air that underneath cools the oil pan so it absorbs, brushes off some of the heat. If you know it's on a racing car, when we went to summer, so the fan had little grooves in it. Alright, so that's where the air, when you race it,
I had some beat in there.
some of these fans know the dead guy. We're gonna go to something.
Shoot, you
I'm
trying to
gonna
buy
put it on
some?
the
You
calendar.
trying to buy it? The team?
So yeah, so
Yeah, we sitting in my garage.
So the oil helps contribute to cooling the engine and the coolant. The coolant is the main one, but because the oil also circulates inside of the engine, it also contributes to absorbing heat and transferring to the oil pan, so that in the oil pan, because of the ram air, it cools down the oil as it circulates, which is also important why you have to change the oil. Because the oil breaks down from being heated up and cooled off. And the properties of the engine. The engine runs so hot that the oil tends to break down. Or it will break down. It starts trying to turn back to the original state, which is crude oil. That's where all of these liquids come from. That thick tar. And the way they change it is by heating it up. They boil it at certain temperatures. And they pull out certain gases and oil from the heating of those oils. Which when we get into the engine, we can run more in depth about that. It's all in your book. It's all in the book. So it's important that you learn these cooling systems, these expressions, these different systems, so you know how it works, what it does. So when something's malfunctioning, you know what to look for. You know what system to check on. Okay? I think that's all I got for y'all today. Any questions?
No, sir.
Now, have you checked your air filter?
Oh, yeah, I think I switched it out the other not too long ago. It was right there.
Okay. So you need to do an engine cleaning.
Yeah, I do. I just been so focused on the other vehicle.